So in just 12 days, we have a massive crisis on our hands. But honestly, there's not much we, the American people, can do about it. All we can do is just sit back and watch. That is part of the problem. Now, I'm going to address what this massive crisis is and how it is going to impact every single one of us. Also want to address what the new reports are on this massive issue. But again, there's not much we can do. So sit back, watch this entire video. If you have any questions, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. But again, thank you guys for watching. All I ask is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead and hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. But let's get right down to it. What is this massive crisis? Well, the crisis has to do with the federal budget. And right now, Congress can't come together, can't agree on how to fund the federal government. They just don't know. Democrats want one thing, Republicans want something completely different. But look at this. It says Republicans are bitterly divided on a short-term stopgap bill that would fund the government through October 31st. The measure includes an 8% cut to everything but defense and veterans affairs, along with the bulk of the House GOP's border crackdown bill. So that's from the Republican side. Democrats don't agree with the bill that the Republican side is putting out there. And then you got Senate Republicans that don't agree with what the House Republicans are putting out there, and vice versa. Now, let's continue reading this. It says the plan, crafted by leaders in the Main Street Caucus and House Freedom Caucus, is intended to show House GOP unity and place pressure on the Democratic-controlled Senate and the White House in negotiations for a package that could become law. It also goes on to say, but more than a dozen hardline conservative Republicans swiftly announced they opposed the bill for not going far enough or not addressing other appropriations, including many in the House Freedom Caucus. So it is saying right here that all the bill is intended to do is just show unity and just put a little bit of pressure on the Democratic-controlled Senate. That was it. This is part of the problem. Right now, two things are going to happen. Okay, or one of two things will happen. One, we see the federal budget for 2024. We get this done and we're fine with it. Okay? If that happens, there will likely be spending cuts, and these will be things to the Social Security Administration, probably to national parks, to the IRS, right? Possibly food stamps, the SNAP benefit program, right? A lot of different cuts here. The other thing is if we don't see that bill, we'll see a short-term stopgap bill. And that's the expectation, okay? The expectation is that is what we will see. And if that is what happens, the problem is Republicans have already made it very clear they are not going to vote for a bill that's $1.59 trillion, at least not in the House. So the House of Representatives will never pass a bill that the Senate passes. So that is part of the issue, is how do we figure out a way to continue our funding without coming up with an agreement? Well, that's where things get very, very interesting. Because here's what Politico's saying. Now, this was actually a couple days ago, but it says the House GOP unveiled a new spending plan. It still won't avert a shutdown. Well, the reason why some are saying that, even though the House, the GOP is putting out different proposals, or even the Senate, the reason why they're saying that, well, this is not going to work, we are still going to have a government shutdown, is simply because they are too far apart. And I want to show you this one as well. Look at this. I want to read it and I'll explain. It says Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Monday he cannot think of a worse welcome for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who will visit Washington this week, than the House stopgap proposal, which does include additional funding for Ukraine. We've talked about this before. President Biden wants to see $23 billion go to Ukraine. Well, the Ukrainian President Zelensky is going to show up in Washington this week, and guess what? As of right now, the stopgap bill that we have proposed, that has no funding for Ukraine. So you think this is a little odd, the timing of this visit? Yeah. It's a little bit strange because now what we're seeing is, okay, it's more of a political battle. Like, no, the GOP isn't gonna bend to Democrats. They're gonna do whatever they can, and they don't want to pay $23 billion to go to Ukraine. We can use that $23 billion elsewhere. But then the Ukrainian president shows up in Washington, and now you're going to have cameras, you're going to have media. And so you think this was planned? Possibly. Because the timing of this is just, so interesting. But here's what I can tell you. Right now, we have, we're going to get this to the floor, okay? We're going to have a vote on this very soon, okay? Now, according to reports yesterday, they're saying that we were going to have a vote on the House GOP bill. This was going to happen on Thursday. However, it got moved. Here we go. It says GOP leaders told their members on a private call on Sunday night that they hope to bring the plan to the floor Thursday. According to multiple people listening, the bill, which would put the next funding deadline to October 31st, was drafted over the last few days by a coalition of hardliners in the House Freedom Caucus and more centrist members of the Main Street Caucus. This deal includes across-the-board cuts to domestic spending bills, exempting defense and veteran spending, as well as disaster aid. It would also pave the way for Republicans to pass a standalone full-year defense spending bill, which a band of ultra-conservatives has blocked for days. That vote would now happen on Wednesday, leadership said on the call. It says perhaps the biggest sweetener to the GOP's plan is to include the party's marquee border policy bill, known as H.R. 2, without a contentious provision related to making E-Verify mandatory. That's going to be a big one right there. Okay? So this vote is going to happen this week. We are going to see movement this week. Well, of course, we have to. Today is September 19th. We have until next Saturday. Yeah, I believe it's next Saturday. So it is, Saturday, September 30th. Sunday would be the 1st. We could see the government shut down on Sunday. We could really see the government shut down on Sunday, next Sunday. So we only have a week and a half. We got 12 days. I wish I could tell you that, don't worry, things are going to be perfectly fine, but as of right now, we just don't know. What I can tell you is that both parties are trying to figure out a way to keep the government funded, but again, and this is the hard part, is in just over a year we have a presidential election. That election, not just for the president, but for the Senate and the House as well, is going to be massive. Because right now, everybody's trying to fight to get their agenda passed, their agenda through. Well, you know what's holding it up? No, we got a split Congress. We have a divided Congress. Republicans hold the majority in the House. Democrats hold the majority in the Senate, both by a very slim margin. And then we got President Biden, who obviously is a Democrat. So we're going to see moving forward what happens. But as of right now, a lot of speculation, a lot of people wondering are they even going to be working come October 1st? Well, we're going to find out within the next week. So as we get more information, I promise I'll come back on. I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. All you got to do is two things. First, hit the like button on this video. Also, click that subscribe button so you never miss an update. And I will see you guys on the next one.